there were local chapters in many cities. With Florence Kelley as national president, the League used a white label to designate shops and factories meeting minimum labor standards. It was an effective means of boycott. Working for the League were volunteer lawyers Louis Brandeis and later Felix Frankfurter. Both were to serve on the Supreme Court. It was Frankfurter who argued, "We do not simply consume goods and services. We consume the lives that go into those goods and services." By 1906, as the problem of adulterated food gained widespread attention, a comprehensive federal pure food and drug law became a major goal of the League. In its fight, it was joined by such established groups as the General Federation of Women's Clubs and by little-known activists such as Alice Lakey. They found an ally in a chemist named Harvey Washington Wiley of the United States Department of Agriculture. Dr. Wiley was dedicated to the pure food movement, along with his young colleagues. Many of them were volunteers known as the Poison Squad, because they actually consumed all kinds of food additives and reported their symptoms to Wiley. A song of the day about the squad went, "On prussic acid we break our fast, we lunch on morphic stew, we dine on match-head consommé, and drink carbolic acid brew. Thus all the deadlines we double dare to put us beneath the sod. We're death immune and proud as proud. Hooray for the Poison Squad." Then a novel appeared, one of the best sellers of all time, Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, which included an expose of the working conditions found in Chicago's meatpacking houses. Its description of adulteration techniques and the lack of sanitation standards revolted and outraged the American public. Sinclair wrote, "The rats were nuisances, and the packers would put poisoned bread out for them and they would die. And then rats, bread, and meat, and sometimes workers, would go into the hoppers together." President Theodore Roosevelt launched an independent investigation of the charges. When it confirmed Sinclair's expose, Roosevelt put his support behind meat inspection legislation. As a result, in part, of organized protest by consumer groups who vigorously lobbied the Senate, two major consumer laws finally made their way through Congress. The passage of the 1906 Food and Drug Act and of the Meat Inspection Act suggests a pattern in the adoption of consumer reforms, a pattern that seems to recur throughout the history of the consumer movement. First, there is a disaster, as in the case of the diseased meat and patent medicine scandals. Then there is research, investigations undertaken by scientists or by groups like the National Consumers League or by journalists to help expose the problem. Next, there is a groundswell of protest from an outraged public leading to a demand for legislation. Then a regulatory bill emerges, often so flawed by compromise that it takes another disaster and another struggle to get the law amended. One shortcoming of the 1906 Food and Drug Bill was that products did not have to be proven safe and effective before going on the market. Another was that the bill did not require ingredients to be listed on the label. By 1907, another type of risk threatened consumers. Corporations banding together as trusts had acquired control of most of the basic goods and services. They not only controlled production, but tried to control pricing. One critic lamented that the consumer's life was controlled by the so-called robber barons. Nowadays, I let the meat trust butcher my pig, the oil trust mold my candles, and the barbed wire trust split my rails. Growing hostility to trusts led to the creation of the Federal Trade Commission by Woodrow Wilson in 1914. Its mandate was to prevent unfair competition by corporations and to enforce the 1890 Sherman antitrust laws. But any action the fledgling FTC might take was temporarily preempted by World War I. The drive for efficiency and standardization that worked for the military soon became a consumer expectation. At the war's end, America entered an age of abundance. The problem was no longer how to produce enough, but how to consume enough. One of the most important 20th century political economists, Thorstein Veblen, observed that many, especially the middle class, sought to achieve status through what he called conspicuous consumption, flaunting of leisure purchases and emulation of the rich. Mass production, mass marketing and selling, mass distribution, all demanded access to American homes. Enter advertising. Advertising pioneer Alfred Seaman.
People wanted the things which said success. They wanted the things which made their life more enjoyable. There's one advertisement I remember seeing for General Electric. It's Christmas morning, and the woman is in sheer ecstasy because her Christmas present is a refrigerator. See, it wasn't just the everyday utility that mattered. That was important, but it was also symbolic. It was something to be proud of and to show to your friends, and it was part of the upward mobility that families were having.